In this episode, I think the florist could be blind. Still, nobody can walk or run correctly. And step aside, Dinky. Thank you for coming back from our replay reviews. My name is Leah.
And my name is Kathy.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes, almost like I'm discovering them again for the first time.
We hope it'll be a similar experience for you.
Chapter 8, Suspect. We see a police meeting where the video of Date looks rather convincing. Pseudo is sure something's not right, and he fights for Date, but he's still ordered to arrest him.
That is a massive TV projector thing. Why did they need it to be that big? And up close.
It's ridiculously large. We're back to Serena. Sayama wants to turn herself in to save Date, but Kawara says that they're not going to change their minds. Kiryu heads to the florist to see if he can track down Daigo. He's also questioning the florist not only about Daigo, but about the tape of Date. Then the florist says, if I'd seen it first, I would never have handed over a tape so full of holes as evidence. It was submitted behind my back, so he has a rat.
What I don't understand is with all his resources, why can't he, and all his cameras, why can't he look internally to see who submitted it behind his back? I feel like the florist either is just stupid, which I don't think is the case, or he probably has like another agenda.
Yeah, this is the start of him like, dude, are you blind?
Mm-hmm.
It should be pretty easy to spot, as we'll see shortly. They start using the monitors to track down Daigo, but the power soon gets cut, and it turns out a group of men are attacking the transformer room, and they appear to be being led by Hayashi from Kiwami 1 of the Omi Alliance, but he now works for Ryuji.
Hayashi is so pointless in this game.
I know. So, they get the power back on. Again, they're tracking down Daigo, but now someone starts hacking them. And we see who. And he's in the room. Right in front of them. But they don't see him. And now Sayama has to jump into action. And she is able to out-hack him.
But the way the florist is just praising her, like she's in her element, it's kind of cringy to see this entire interaction. And then Kiryu is like, oh, I'm falling for her. Look how cool she is.
Yeah, it's weird. And then the rat just like gets up and walks. Like, how do they not notice this guy?
She's a police, yet she has no observation skills.
And the florist literally observes for his whole life, and he can't even figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they are able to locate Daigo, so they head to the Shangri-La to go get him. Anything before we move on to scene 3?
Nope.
They arrive at the Shangri-La, and it's in disrepair. And I love Kiryu saying, the truck was a little much, Majima.
The respect he has for Majima, despite everything that they went through here.
Yeah. They do free Daigo, and he tells them that his captors took Chairman Goda somewhere else, so one down, one to go.
I do like Daigo's humor, though, in this environment.
Also, why was Sayama staring at him like that when the scene is like fading out? Short chapter. We are now moving on to the Majima saga again for chapter 2, Prodigal Son. So we're back at Tojo HQ, and Majima is being blamed by Ibuchi for Uematsu's murder. So we kind of think he did it, right? To frame Majima at this point.
Definitely based on how quickly he's jumping to it and how defensive he is in making other people look like it's their problem.
So Majima says to Ibuchi, you gonna quit yapping if I bring you the head of Uematsu's killer? And he says, yeah, sure, if you can. On his way out, some Uematsu guys attack him, and we learn from this encounter that the men who attacked Majima's family earlier were actually not from the Uematsu family, so
we get another great scene with Kashiwagi and Majima, and they're chatting. And even Kashiwagi knows that something's not right. And then he tells Majima to go to the florist because the florist probably has some intel.
Oh, and his suit changed colors, remember?
Yes, it did.
It went from purple to like pea soup green, right?
Or did it go gray? I can't remember.
It's not purple. So yeah, at the florist, Majima is informed that this information will not be cheap, and in return the florist wants him to take over operations of Purgatory.
He's out of his mind. Why would you know Majima's history and yet you still want to chain him back into his birdcage for like a piece of information that might not even be that great?
You bring up a
Ridiculous.
good point though. Maybe he does know about Majima's ability to manage, like he managed at the Grand. So maybe he knows that he's really good at running things. So on the video that the florist pulls up, we see Kawamura, who is the driver that Majima talked to in the first Majima chapter. Kawamura is now in Sotenbury, so Majima has to head there next.
It makes sense as Kawamura because he seemed nosy, like he was information gathering. So I'm not surprised there, but I didn't think they would bring him back.
Majima arrives in Sotenbury again. He says, back here of all places.
I don't like it because I know what he's been through, and I feel like the florist should have just told him where instead of making him run around the city.
Yeah, does he only have cameras in Tokyo, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Majima knows that the Grand is the best place for information, so he heads there. And I have to say, the difference between him and Kiryu, because they've both been in here trying to get information, Majima is so much nicer. He, like, immediately buys a bottle from the hostess. He's so nice to her. And Kiryu is just, like, ignoring the hostess to eavesdrop on Ryuji.
Majima is a gentleman. He's a real man's man.
Majima still needs to fill in some blanks, so he heads to the Odyssey next in hopes of gathering more intel. But he arrives to find it no longer exists, but thankfully does bump into Yamagata, who was the manager from the Odyssey. And he tells Majima that he'd seen Kawamura at a mahjong parlor above a massage parlor named Hogushi Kaikan. Maybe the staff there could tell you something, he says.
I love his efficiency and everything. Like, he doesn't waste time chit-chatting. He chit-chats to get the necessary information, doesn't do side stories, and just fights. And, like, I think there's one part in the previous scene where he even says in his mind, knock enough heads and you'll soon knock the right one. Like, he just is thug-like, yet effective.
Yeah, he's efficient. Begrudgingly, Majima enters Hogushi Kaikan, where an employee tells him that Kawamura moved to Tokyo because someone offered to pay off all his debts.
Very suspicious.
Majima tries to leave, but she's pretty good at guilting him into getting a massage. He very much so does not want to, but he does cave, and it sounds like someone named Tateyama will be giving his massage. And I feel like you might want to chime in here.
Okay, so while watching this, I was like, dude, wouldn't it have been crazy if he walked in and Makoto was right there? Next thing you know, who's standing right there? It's freaking Makoto when she does the massage. But how could they do that to Majima?
You ceased to function.
Yeah, my hands are fluttering.
Your hands went floppy. You just started making noises. I don't really know what happened to you.
I was in disbelief. It's just, how could they do that to Majima? And then we don't even know much about it because the scene ends pretty abruptly.
But poor Majima, he recognizes her voice and then does his best to hide from her. The part that just breaks my heart is when Makoto says, "Nice to meet you, sir." Like, oh.
If I had to cry again for a video game, it would be for this. We have to realize how much Majima truly loves her to be able to sacrifice everything he has and his feelings for her protection.
Exactly. That is actual love, as tragic as it is. Anyway, we're going to have a lot more to say. I think we need to table that for now.
Yeah.
Should we move on to Chapter 9, the Omi Invasion?
Yep.
Alright, so at Serena, Daigo briefs Kiryu on his captors, saying they seemed military level. And during this, Kashiwagi rushes in to check on Daigo, who then tells them his captors called themselves the Jingweon.
But I have to say that interaction was so cute. Like, Kashiwagi was so concerned for Daigo. He just comes rushing in. And then Daigo being shy / maybe ashamed that he couldn't protect the chairman. Kashiwagi offers him a cigarette from a box. And at first, I thought it was like a juice box. And I was like, oh.
Here you go, kid.
Yeah.
I love Kashiwagi in this game. He just seems
Me
like
too.
he's loyal to his core. And he, like, actually cares about all of his guys.
He's nurturing.
He is. Okay. So it turns out Kashiwagi has heard of them before. And he says, the Jinguan I know were wiped out. And then Sayama, who's also present, says that HQ has no record of their existence. And that's because they've been erased by the police, Kashiwagi says. Kashiwagi then launches into his memories from the incident 20 years ago. We see a meeting between Dojima, Kazuma, and Big Baby Shimano.
Except he's skinny boy Shimano in this scene. He's not that big in this scene.
He isn't bulked up yet. He's on his way. He's still bald, though.
Yeah.
Okay. How? I feel like he would look ridiculous with hair. I'm Googling it.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
This is posted on Reddit by Dark Lord Nugget. Kathy.
Share screen. Ugh. That freaked me out. The eyes and the hair freaked me out. No, I don't want to keep looking at it.
Anyway, wow. Basically, Dojima says they need to kill all of them. He says, hit too soft and we've dug our own graves. They have to be wiped out. And I'm sorry, I get pissed off at this. They try to make Cosmo look like a saint, being like, I don't want to kill them all. That's not right. And then Shimano has a great point. He's like, you've killed hundreds of people and you don't want to do this. Agree, Shimano.
But in Cosmo's defense, or I don't know if it really is in his defense, his style has always been more of a strategist than like heavy hitter type with the violence first, think next. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of connection he has to the Jingwon Mafia that maybe we just don't know. He probably thinks there's better use for them.
But he does comply, and it sounds like the raid bumped the Dojima family up to the level of power that we see in these games. We're then back to present day, and Sayama asks where the police were during all of this. Kashiwagi says they let the Dojima family do their jobs for them.
I wonder if there's so much involvement with the Jingwon Mafia, if that whole storyline may have been also to give us more of like a villain story for the survivors of anyone who's from the Jingwon Mafia, just to kind of beef it up. So I think we might see more about that. And I'm curious how it's going to play in, because if not, what a waste of time on this.
So after their little meeting, they decide to call it a night, and the next day, Kiryu heads to Terada's funeral while Sayama checks in with Osaka PD. So at the funeral, Goryu men show up, and this is where one of them gets out of their car and says to Daigo, "Step aside, Dinky." Which I just can't get enough of. So of course the fight starts out, and there's something that looks a little not like fighting happening in the background at an hour 22 10 seconds.
There's two men in the back. One man looks like he's ready to fight, or he's doing something else. His facial expression's kind of weird. And the second man's face is shoved into his crotch. Are they fighting? Or?
It doesn't look like fighting to me.
No, it might be some foreplay.
Anyway, after the brawl, for some people it was a brawl, Ryuji himself shows up and says that he just wants to pay his respects. Whatever. Kiryu says, "You're trying to stop the alliance?" And he says, "Of course. I feel like we already knew that from when he staged a coup originally." He then dumps out a pile of cash. Lady Dojima has a reaction to this, and through dialogue, we learn that Ryuji and Chairman Goto are not flesh and blood related.
Okay, so the question is Ryuji the boy from Jungwon? Which he's gonna be pissed if he realizes he's not Japanese.
It's looking suspicious.
But also, how much time is this guy spending at the barbershop dyeing his hair into like yellow blonde, like a banana color?
It's not good.
Yeah. So when Daigo pretty much got shoved to the floor, Lady Dojima immediately runs to her son, right? And I feel like that's like the first time we really see this motherly affection.
I do like this moment, and then I like when Ryuji sorta insults her a little bit, and Daigo tries to go punch him, but Kiryu stops him. Also, they look related.
They do.
The designers did a great job making them actually look like mother and son. On his way out, Ryuji says, in 3 days, it's rematch time. And then he also drops a hint that Sengoku is already in Kamurocho. So we then go back to Kamurocho, and we see that the Omi men have arrived, but Majima is there to take them on. By himself.
I get that you're capable, but it's one thing to be capable. It's another thing to be stupid and like it's so unnecessary. Just wait 5 minutes for backup.
Kiryu and Sayama catch up and then head out to push Sengoku back. On the way, they run into a very bloodied up Majima, who indicates that he beat all of Sengoku's men, although he says girls.
I think the only 2 people, maybe 3, that can actually win and come out alive in the situation is 1, Majima, 2, Kashiwagi because he's cool like that, and 3, Tachibana, which, I mean, that man did so much by himself too, but I just think it's incredible that they include this scene just to demonstrate how capable they are.
Mm-hmm. And not only how capable, but how loyal Majima is. Because he says to Kiryu, promise is a promise, right? I kept it. He did this just because Kiryu asked him to give a hand to the Tojo clan.
Majima is the definition of loyalty. Like, you want him by your side, and it hurts me to see him get hurt like this, but also just he's not getting any positive things happening in his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah. And so he better not die like this.
He's also really smart. He tells Kiryu that he needs to go back to Tojo HQ because this was all just a distraction to get him out of the way. He also informs him that Sengoku has a rat in the Tojo clan, Shindo. So back at HQ, Kiryu finds that the Nishikiyama family has officially flipped and is attacking. After fighting his way up, we see that the Nishikiyama family has Daigo and Kashiwagi captive, and Shindo is holding Lady Dojima on his lap.
So weird. So weird. I don't understand that. And nonetheless, in front of her son, I'm jumping ahead, but he pretty much confesses his love for her, that he's liked her. And dude, if you were together, she has like a grown son. Like, do you want him to call you dad?
Yeah, like I can't get a read on how old Shindo is. But
he's not that old.
I'm just really confused. We have zero backstory on really either of these characters.
Yes.
It's just really odd.
And unnecessary. Like, okay, whether or not you have a crush on her has no relevance on what you're trying to do.
Right. And it goes back to why I like Ryuji's character so much, because if this was Ryuji, he wouldn't care about Lady Dojima. He would just want to take over the clan. And I feel like that should be enough for Shindo to just take over the clan, which is his plan. He says, as we speak, Sengoku's hitmen are wiping out the other officers. I'm taking over as chairman. Shouldn't that be enough of a motive for us as the audience? Why are we dragging Lady Dojima into this?
There's too much forced romance in this, and then the non-consensual kiss was also unnecessary.
But for a second, though, she thought about liking it.
Oh, yeah. The eyes closing before she's like, crap, my son's watching.
Right. She thought about liking it for a split second. She does slap him and run away.
We balance the scales right now. It's 1-to-1. Guy slap girl, girl slap guy.
Won't last long. So
Foreshadowing.
Kiryu's confronting him, and Shindo says, "Didn't you and Patriarch Nishikiyama go to war over a woman just last year?" Like, he's got a point.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
Fair. A lot of what he says to Kiryu is like, you're not wrong.
I do want to point out, I think I'm very frustrated because back to the whole Yayoi thing, Shindo also points out that, like, why would you love Dojima? He has like a mistress on every corner. And she's like, why wouldn't I? I'm so loyal to him. Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. I think any ladies listening to our podcast, if your boy has multiple mistresses around the corner, don't date him. Don't be loyal to him.
Shindo's looking a lot better as the scene goes on.
Yeah. Right? He's willing to kill for you.
Right? Come on. I also like that he called Dojima a toad. Like, it's right up there with Dinky. What do you feel about his character, though? I really liked him, and I wish he had more screen time and more of a storyline. I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting to explore, like, the, just the impact that Nishikiyama left on his family. There could have been a lot more interesting storyline with him, but instead we get things like the florist's son, which we're going to completely skip over.
They should have really taken some time to give more meat to his character to set him up for this moment, because it could have held so much more weight and more understanding, like his villain story, than any of the other characters. Like, we barely say Yayoi, yet she's like, they're trying to make her significant, but it's not working well. So if they really invested more in Shindo, it would have been great, because even without all that, I think he has a lot of potential, and he kind of does. I really did enjoy the scenes with him.
Yeah, I would have liked to see maybe scenes, they don't even have to be playable scenes, but just cut scenes of, like, Yayoi's perspective of realizing something's not right in the clan. And then we see, like, little bits of, like, Shindo becoming more suspicious, and then maybe we get more backstory about him being in love with her. And it's still good how it is, but I just wish we got more because there's so much potential. Okay, so after Kiryu defeats, I guess, Shindo, Yayoi banishes him, but he tries to shoot her, I think, or maybe Daigo. But Daigo jumps for a gun and kills him instead.
Do we know he's dead, or is he just video game Hideo version dead?
I think he's pretty dead. He gets shot a couple times, and it would have been more, but Kiryu stops him and does the little head shake.
The stupid head shake. Ugh.
And we were both like, why? Let him do it.
But here's the thing, though. If that was Kiryu on the ground, he would have lived. So, are we sure he's dead?
Hold on to that line.
Okay.
Because you're going to use it again. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
Anyway, after all of this, Yayoi is over it. She wants all the Omi out of the city. Final chapter of this part, chapter 10, Survivors. We're back to Date, who has just learned that the Dojima family wiped out the Jingguan. Haruo joins him, and we learn that he and Besho were the ones on the case. And he doesn't really give Date a lot of information and says, I'm done answering questions. And as he leaves, tosses Date his badge?
Is it Date's badge or Kawara's badge?
I don't know.
But I'm also very annoyed at Kawara just being so emotional and prissy. Be like, I'm done with this. I'm done answering questions. Just tosses and like walks out with the attitude. Like, dude, do your job as a police officer. Do your due diligence. Answer questions. Help him out. Why are you being so dinky with your information?
Well, and honestly, because he goes, flip to the last page. Like, he gives him that hint and then says, I'm not answering questions. You didn't need to give him that hint. Did you really think that Date's not going to go to read every page of the binder? I think he probably would. I just don't understand this interaction. I don't know what we're supposed to get out of it. So Date then fills in Kiryu and Sayama, who is very upset that her chief lied to her.
She not only was she just overreacting in the scene of just, she goes in so hard and aggressive. Calm down so you can understand the facts before you just end up just trying to rip his head off and make him be accountable for all that.
Yeah, she's really upset that basically the police were working with the Yakuza. And then, okay, so she points a gun at Kiryu. And this made us think of a great idea for a game or a movie. Basically the same setup where she would find out the department was working with the Yakuza. And then she actually kills Kiryu. And all of a sudden, we changed protagonists. Now she's a protagonist. And the rest of the story is her just going crazy, taking down the Yakuza.
Best plot twist ever.
I mean, I like Kiryu, but I kind of wish that.
No, because I would love to see that. And especially, it's the Yakuza Huntress.
It would be so cool. Just the idea about, like, you're following a protagonist, and then halfway through the movie, all of a sudden they're dead, and you have a new protagonist. If somebody knows of a movie or a show where they do that, let us know. Because I need to see it. Okay, well, after what actually happens in this game, they both need to address some things in Osaka, so they head there. But on the way, Kiryu bumps into the florist's son. And I don't care. Get rid of him. Get rid of this scene. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It adds nothing. So we skipped it entirely. So after that, Kiryu and Sayama meet back up, and she kind of forces him to go with her to Osaka PD instead of looking for Goda. At the police department, she confronts Besho about the Dojima family and Jingweon Mafia. Honestly, I think Besho does a great job with her. His first response is, I had no idea that was a connection, so I'm not going to just spill classified intel. So basically, there's just no other way at the time, and he says that the Jingweon Mafia was a 36-man outfit, and they only found 33 bodies, and he knows about one of the 3 survivors. And he tells them where to find him. His name is Murai. And he actually helped him disappear to Osaka after he broke the Death Before Dishonor code.
What I don't understand is why is Besho telling them how to find Murai? Isn't that just going to undo all his effort back then to spare him?
Right. Unless he just thinks maybe he's involved with what's going on and it's too big of a risk to not investigate him. Sayama gets extremely pissed when Besho says, your protective custody job ends today. She storms out. Kiryu's still there. And then Besho says to Kiryu, look out for her, would ya? Weird?
Unnecessary. She can take care of herself.
Kiryu asks him about the Kawara shootings, but he says he's already said too much. So we don't get anything more out of him. Alright, anything else on that scene, or should we finish this out?
Let's finish it.
Okay, so Kiryu tracks down Sayama, who's gotten into an altercation with some Yakuza. He steps in and they run from the cops together after they show up. They seem to realize they have some chemistry.
Hold on. Before we get that part, we have to change the score to 2-1 and 2 guys slapping a female. Another female slap.
Yep. At least she left a handprint on his face. It was a good slap.
Yes.
They're in the alleyway hiding from the cops. And she's like, hey, are you free tonight? And then there's a montage.
So over the top.
It is. And I don't know. To me, like, you can't beat Majima Makoto. And the fact that they're trying to do this in Sotenbury is like,
yeah,
a slap in the face to that storyline.
We were like, get out of Sotenbury because that's Makoto and Majima's thing.
Right.
And the takoyaki. Back off. There's so many other good foods. Why did you have to use takoyaki?
That's their thing. Quit it. Anyway, then we get to the romantic rooftop moment. Kiryu's drunk. Dude is drunk. She's gonna go get more beer. But then they start talking instead. I don't really have much to say on this moment. I don't know if you do.
You do have a moment that you asked me to write my notes to remind you, and it's that crotch shot.
There's a little too much implied butt crack, for Kiryu.
Yeah.
What's your next note?
That was it. I did my
right,
note on such a good one.
Kiryu says she should just go get some sleep. And then she walks away. Again, does not look like a normal walk. Is she supposed to look drunk, or is that just how she walks?
She's supposed to look flirty.
That's a flirty walk.
I don't know what it was.
So after this, Kiryu decides to explore the city where he runs into a tattoo artist trying to toss away a dragon design. Kiryu stops him and then goes with him to his parlor. I have in my notes, this part is a bit long-winded, but we do learn that this design is what Ryuji has.
Okay, cool story, bro.
I think this is just supposed to give more feel on the one true dragon fire.
To be honest, the one true dragon really should have been Nishiki.
Elaborate.
My understanding is kois are supposed to turn into dragons through enough evolution and level up. So the main thing was that there's plenty of barriers and obstacles that prevented Nishiki from having those opportunities to level up, demonstrate his ability to be a dragon. And because he was never given the opportunities, he never became a dragon, and that's why he's stuck with the koi tattoo. In my opinion, I think that everything Nishiki has done and the fact that everyone was still loyal to him in the end shows that he deserved to be the dragon.
Why was he given that dragon tattoo at such a young age, too? If it's that important of a design. I don't know. But yeah, Nishiki just does not get credit in the games. I mean, I think fans give him credit, but in-game characters don't give him enough credit. Well, any more notes on part 3?
No?
Well,
Perfect.
game plays out tomorrow, and we'll be talking about part 4 next week.
Audacity on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week.